Hello and welcome to Mother Tongue, the podcast where modern motherhood meets real life. I'm Marianne, founder, podcast host, and mum of three, and I created this space for all the mums who are juggling it all. From toddlers and tantrums to businesses and burnout, we're talking about what it actually takes to build a life, a career, and a family all at once. Here, you'll hear honest, unfiltered conversations with founders, freelancers, experts, and everyday mums about work, wellness, identity, mental health, relationships, and everything we carry that no one talks about. Hit follow, join our community, We Are Mother Tongue, and tune in for real talk that supports the whole you, because modern motherhood is busy and no one should do it all alone.
We are so incredibly excited to welcome Sophie Rose-Arnold to Mother Tongue. Sophie, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. I'm very excited about today's chat because today we're going to be talking all about alcohol, or more importantly, an alcohol-free life, which is something I've actually wanted to talk about on the podcast for such a long time. It's a journey. I mean, I have been on such a massive journey with alcohol myself, and I feel like we are the generation that has gone on a massive journey with alcohol. I think
100%, yeah.
our parents before us were big drinkers, but more steady drinkers. You know, they would drink every single day. My parents still would have a glass of wine every single night. And that didn't happen to our generation, but we are the binge drinking generation. And I feel like a lot of us are suffering because of it.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like with our generation, it was more of a, like a rite of passage. So even it started from very young, my own personal story. So, when I got into secondary school, I would see the older children, they were all dabbling in the alcohol, drinking in the parks and things like that. So when I was 12, 13, that's what I was aspiring to. That is what I wanted, it was my, going into adulthood, if you like, that's what I thought. And then in terms of, the marketing of it all, I remember being so enticed by the WKD, like the blue WKD, and then I think it was the Bacardi Breezes, and I think they were purposely marketing towards the younger generation, the next generation of drinkers, well, not even necessarily towards the young adults. It was more towards who's going to be the next generation of drinkers. So it all started there for me, and then I would say once I was obviously 16, I was drinking a lot, and then once I turned, I think 29 or 30, maybe no 32, that's when I decided to call it a day. Yeah, completely stop. So
That's so true. Do you know what? I've never thought about that with the WKD and Bacardi Breezes, because that is very true. And I mean, how messed up is that? That a whole brand marketed itself around getting young kids into drinking.
It is. It's terrible. I've learned a lot about it, and yeah, that's basically what it was doing. Branding in terms of everything, in terms of towards mothers as well, that the vulnerable, necessary, once they've had the babies and everything. No, this is just not. This is not. It's not.
It's great.
It's not.
It's great.
It's not flowing.
It is.
You just know.
It's fine.
All right. Okay.
Go around with the mothers.
Leave that part.
No, keep going. Oh, nice. That was a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the alcohol industry, it is very clever with the marketing. Yeah, and it markets towards all different categories, the young adults, certainly towards mothers. We, especially when we're in the UK, we see all of the bottles, the pink floral bottles. It entices us, it makes us feel like that's something that we need in terms of motherhood, when really it's like the opposite of what we necessarily need.
I completely agree. And actually, I think looking back at it now, I've never really had a healthy relationship with alcohol. And I went to university. I didn't personally go to university, which I think was a blessing in disguise for so many reasons. But I did go and visit lots of my friends at universities back in the day. And even the things like, on Thursdays, it will be triple night and you get a triple vodka. I mean, the thought now of a triple vodka blows my mind. But I never, throughout my entire 20s, I could never go on an evening out and just have a drink or two drinks. I was either not going or I was totally shit-faced. And there was no in between. And I mean, when I say me and my husband both were pretty bad, probably a period of 5 years when we go out most weekends, drink, I think, you go and hit up brunch at 12, you'd leave brunch at 6 because you carry on drinking in the bar, and then you find the next place to go. And before you knew it, it was 3 a.m. and you've been drinking since midday.
Yeah.
And I mean, looking back on that now, that's what, 12, 13, 14, 15 hours of straight drinking. How repulsive is that?
I know, I was exactly the same. So I would, obviously, when I came up to Dubai, you know, the brunch culture, that was all new to me. I mean, I was the same.
New to us all.
I never went to uni either, but I came over to Dubai and I joined Emirates Airlines. So that was kind of like my uni experience.
Yeah.
We were all, you know, at the training college together. And yeah, so that was kind of like that version of my uni version was when I was really young, 22, 23, with all of the Emirates gang, and we were going out on the weekend. I think it was Irish Village, and we'd be drinking. And then, yeah, that brunch culture. I remember for the first, like, going to the first brunch. I don't know if you remember Double Decker.
Yes, of course I do.
It was so iconic. So I just remember, I think one of the first times that I went to Double Decker brunch, and I was so drunk, and then I came out, and it was like bright sunlight. Because even though obviously we were drinking heavily in the UK, it was more evening drink, I would say, like nights out parties and stuff. But that, it was just like starting from 12.
I know.
Yeah, and I would just never eat ever. So I would only drink.
Oh my gosh, yeah. That was ever like, people would be like, yeah, I can't do both. I mean, I'm here to eat or I'm here to drink.
Yeah.
And I think when I remember vividly, like, falling pregnant. It was my 30th birthday, and a month before I turned 30, I had a party in Dubai, an early party in Dubai to celebrate my birthday. So we were going on holiday and then going back to England for Christmas. And I got so drunk, made a total piss of myself. And God, I remember the next day, I was hungover for about a week. I felt so rubbish. I was like, I'm never drinking again. I actually said to my husband, I was like, I think now's the time to have a baby.
Yeah.
And we'd been married for like 6 months. And the next month I fell pregnant, and that was it. And I obviously then didn't drink for 9 months.
Yeah.
And then came out of the other side and couldn't drink. It's the weirdest thing I've ever experienced in my life. I would try, but I hated the taste. The anxiety levels that I would feel when I had a drink would just go through the roof. I was worried that if I had a drink, something might happen to the baby. Like all these things, like I had quite bad postpartum. I mean, it wasn't quite depression, but I was definitely totally off kilter. My hormones were out of whack. And I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And then we get into the phase of where everyone's like, oh, you're boring because you don't drink anymore. Why do we think women especially do this to other women? Because it is really sad. I lost quite a few close friends during that time because I was considered to be boring because I was drinking less or didn't want to drink.
Yeah. No, I have been, you know, I'm the same. I've lost a fair few friends, but since I've started on this journey, I've made some fantastic friends in the meantime, which is brilliant. But in terms of boring, I think because alcohol is so, you know, it's woven into everything. It's woven into, you know, it's part of conditioning. We have conditioned ourselves since I was 13 or 14, well, I started, you know, 13, 14, that alcohol equals fun, it equals connection, it equals...
Cool.
Yeah, we're cool. And I think it really comes down to a basic human needs that we all want to feel part of the gang, right? We all want to feel part of the tribe. So if we have a friendship group that revolves around alcohol, and we then make that decision to stop drinking, we'll feel like we're going off kilter, and we're going to feel rejected by our friends, you know. So we really don't want to feel rejected. And also it goes to, you know, if we've got our friends who are on a night out and you might not want to continue drinking, you know, you've had a couple, you may not have even wanted to have a couple possibly, but you have, you know, because that's your friendship group. And if they continue to offer you more, it's like, come on, let's just have one more. I've done it to my friends myself. I've done it.
Yeah.
But that's framed as connection. It's like, if we were on a night out together and you were offering me more drinks, I would feel, oh, you know, she just loves our...
Yeah, it's like,
she cares about me. So I'm going to have to continue drinking here because it's framed as connection. Yeah. So it's so hard to break out of that. It really, really is.
Yeah, it is so true. And I do think that there is so much pressure, even in my own mind. I still do drink.
Yeah.
I haven't been drunk for a really long time. It's almost like now something in my body shuts down.
Yeah.
If I have 2 or 3, I either feel dreadfully sick, like I'm going to vomit.
Yeah.
My stomach, I don't know what has happened to my insides, but it just can't tolerate it. Or I just lose, like I can't can't stomach it. It's really weird. My body's just like, we're done.
Yeah.
And there has been the odd night where I've kind of pushed through that. Maybe I'm drinking a full cocktail, but every time it's not even that the hangover is so bad now, it's the anxiety that comes with it. Why is it again? Because I don't think my parents, or maybe they do, they maybe never have just spoken about it, but why do we get this anxiety from alcohol?
I think what happens is, so if we have a few glasses of wine, that what happens is that produces GABA in our body, which then kind of sedates us and makes us calm.
Yeah.
But our body just doesn't accept that. It's not like, oh, this is brilliant, so we're going to feel calm now. It has to get back to an equilibrium. So it puts the same amount of, I think, hormones or, stimulants into our body to bring us back up. So, I mean, it's happened to me. I'm sure it's happened to you. You woke up 3 o'clock in the morning, anxious, but you're exhausted. You can't go back to sleep. That's because your body has flooded itself with, the chemicals that make you feel anxious, that make you feel jittery. So you're exhausted. The alcohol, the sedation of the alcohol's worn off, and you're wired, can't go back to sleep, anxious, heart racing. Then you start thinking, what did I do last night? You come into thinking, oh, and you're watching what happened.
Even you talking about it makes me feel a bit uneasy.
I'd have like the hard conversations with our phone, and you just couldn't go back to sleep. No, it was horrendous.
No, so true. Did you have a moment then when you were like, I'm done?
So I was exactly the same as you in terms of motherhood. I just think it changes everything so much. I can't, like, for example, when you're in your 20s, I think, you have so much more time too. Just, you've got a free schedule. You can just spend Sunday
being hungover in the dark. Yeah.
And I think in our 20s, what we did is we just put up with more then. So first of all, we were able to bounce back quicker in our 20s. And, for a mum now in her 30s who's, busy parenting, might have a business or is a busy job. I think what we tolerated in our 20s, I don't want to throw up.
No.
To me, that sounds horrendous.
I know.
That sounds horrendous to me now. But throwing up then, that was okay. That was part of it. I understood that. If I
cool points, you puked. Well done.
Yeah. So I think once I'd had my son, and getting up with he's not going to stop because I have a hangover.
No.
So I would drink so much less frequently when I had him. Barely, I wasn't really a daily drinker anyway, but I would maybe only drink, once every few months, or if there was a special occasion, then we would go out and we would drink. So then I think my tolerance level just really decreased. So then my hangover was getting just worse. And I don't know if necessarily it was a lot worse, but I think just motherhood and the fact that I knew that I had to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning, feeling so unwell, I just wasn't able to manage it anymore. And I think what happened when I originally took that decision to stop drinking, my last drink was on Christmas Day. So it wasn't after like a really heavy night. What had happened is 2 weeks prior to that, I did have a really heavy night. So we'd gone out and it was kind of like just off the cuff. I was like, let's get babysitter, let's go out. And I was really, I was really drunk that night. So then 2 weeks later, Christmas Day came and I was actually working the next day. So we'd gone to brunch and my friend was there. And funnily enough, she's not had a drink either since that day. And we're still close friends. I ended up having a few drinks. I still couldn't say no. Even though the 2 weeks before I was so drunk, so anxious. So that day I ended up like falling asleep on the sofa and waking up not feeling well. And I was just thinking to myself, what is it about this that I just can't stop? I've got all of the evidence that this is making me feel unwell. Like even just a few drinks, like I woke up and I started to feel, because I'd only had a few, and then I'd stopped. I'd started to feel, the low level, like hangover. I was like, this is like 6 o'clock on Christmas Day. Like I don't want to feel like this. And also, why 2 weeks ago, I had that episode where, I was saying I was never drinking again, but yet here we are 2 weeks later and I'm still choosing to go back to it. Like, what is it about this substance that makes it so hard to say no to? So I think at that point, I was really starting to go into the research of it, like in terms of like conditioning and why, we just can't seem to break away from it as a society. And then I remember having this really like moment. We were actually walking into a mall and I just turned to my husband. I was like, I'm never drinking again. I was like, I'm never drinking again. And I never drank again. Ever.
And how long ago was that?
So that was Christmas of 2023.
Okay.
And I literally turned to him and I said, I'm never going to have a drink ever again. And I mean,
And was there a particular thing that was like your kryptonite? Like in terms of what you really like to drink, were you a wine drinker or did you like a vodka, a gin and tonic?
And everything went. Yeah, it was wine. Yeah,
Was your fave?
Yeah, I don't drink wine. Prosecco would be an issue. My husband knew if I was on Prosecco, then it'd probably be. It was anything fizzy. Aperol spritz, that was it. I was done. But wine, yeah, Prosecco.
And how have you found coming off it? Like, where have the challenges been? What's been the hardest moments for you?
It's the societal thing, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's definitely, it's telling people. I remember feeling nervous telling people I'm not drinking. You'd have to have a reason. So in the very beginning, I would just, I'm on antibiotics. And if anybody's watching this and in the beginning that makes you feel more comfortable, then just take it. Just do that in the beginning. Just say, yeah, I'm taking a health break. You don't have to immediately go from being a drinker to a non-drinker. So, it was that societal thing where it's, going from drinking to not drinking. It is hard in terms of like I'm losing that.
You're not
losing my train of thought.
No.
Can we start?
Yeah.
I'm rolling and my mind's going blank.
Don't worry.
Okay, so sorry. Let me just take some water. Does this happen normally on your podcast? Or is this just
Sometimes, do not worry, honestly.
I've totally lost my train of thought. I was
No. We're talking about like what you've missed the most. What you've missed the most since so like where has it been hard? What's it been the most challenging moments?
Yeah. So in terms of, I think it's more the societal side of it. So I remember when I originally stopped drinking, how nervous I would feel to tell people. And again, that would come from, prior to me stopping drinking, if somebody had told me that they were a non-drinker, I would label them in a box of being incredibly boring.
Yeah.
Dull.
Don't want to hang out with you.
Don't want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
So I knew that is what people would think, because that's unfortunately the way I used to think. So that's what I was worried about. And then especially in terms of if you go into an event where you don't really know the people, I think it's easier in like networking events and stuff like that. It is easier. But if it's a friendship group that is so woven into drinking, I mean, I've lost friends from stopping drinking, friends that I've spent,
years with,
holidays with, Christmases with. We've just lost all contact. And people don't want to look at their own drinking. They don't like to think about that. So they'd rather label me as Sophie's got a problem. She's obviously has to do this because she's got such a problem. I don't, so I'm going to continue doing what I want to do, and I just won't engage with somebody that's not drinking.
No.
So it was difficult in the beginning, but I think once you get more confident, it changes. Yeah.
And were there any moments where you thought, I'm going to break here?
No, not really. No, once I really took that decision that enough was enough. Bearing in mind, when I stopped, I'd had 18 full years of drinking. I only stopped at 32.
Yeah.
But I'd had 18 full years of it under my belt. So I had so much knowledge at that time so I knew that I didn't want to go back to that anymore, especially being a mum. I just couldn't tolerate it. I couldn't tolerate the hangovers. And I remember in the very, very early days, I would listen to a podcast. It's a fantastic podcast, by the way, but it's actually been discontinued. It's called Over the Influence. It's two fantastic hosts from the UK, really relatable, lots of relatable stories, and I would just listen to it on repeat on the way to work. And that kind of, because they would always have guests on there, and they would all talk about their fantastic positive experiences since they've stopped drinking. And I think that's what we need to do, because we've conditioned ourselves to believe that alcohol is related to any event, whether it's a wedding, a funeral, sitting on the sofa with your partner, you're enjoying a glass of wine in a movie. So because we believe that all fun events are related to alcohol, you really do need to build evidence of the contrary.
Yeah,
you really, really do. So that's kind of what they were talking about on that podcast, is you really have to build more evidence to show that you can have fun without alcohol. You have to rewire your brain and the conditioning to believe that you don't need it. It's challenging, because obviously we've just been so conditioned to believe
So true.
Yeah.
So the two things that I find most difficult, there's three things actually that I find most difficult. One is if I've had a really stressful week, a shitty week or a shitty day, or the kids have driven me around the bed. And this doesn't happen so much now because there are other things I do. But occasionally I'm like, I just want a drink. And again, I know deep down now that me having one drink, I'm not again going to go, I want 5. The old me 100% would have. But now I am lucky enough that I can say, oh, I just want one and be done with it. But it still has a negative effect on me. And as you were saying earlier, I think the more you get out of practice of drinking, the more effect 1 or 2 drinks has on you, which is shit. But firstly, what do you do now to replace that when you're like really wound up and the drink, because let's be honest, that first drink, every other drink does nothing, but the first drink takes the edge off. The first drink is the one that gives you that high, and then you just chase it for the rest of the night with every other drink afterwards, which is unhelpful. But what do you do now? People who are out there who are trying to kind of not calm down with alcohol, what do you do to kind of, what's your wusa, your chill?
I mean, I always say, like, use the play it forward method. So if you can think about how you're going to feel tomorrow, if you are somebody that can just have one drink and enjoy it and you've never had a problem with wanting more, then that's up to you. If you want to continue to have just one drink, then that's fine. But if you are somebody that, once you've had that one drink, you're going to chase that second drink, third drink and fourth drink, you are probably better off not starting. So I think always think about what is this going to lead to and how is this going to make me feel. So I mean, I was the same, obviously I took that decision, but the issue is with that first drink, it's the first 20 minutes, that is what ultimately calms you down. But if you even, like you said, if you think about the effects of it and how it's going to make you feel,
I know,
just from one, you can try and think, how am I going to not necessarily use this as a coping mechanism.
Yeah.
And also I think sometimes it's more just in your head, because there's so many lovely alternatives now. So a lot of people like Erica,
yes,
drink dry stuff.
yes.
There's so many alternatives. You can have an alcohol-free Corona. I used to have those in the beginning. Or you can have, I don't know, I don't really have the spirits and stuff. But
There's loads.
There's loads now. And I think sometimes it's just, if you have that drink, I mean, for example, I don't know, but if you were to offer somebody one of those, like an alcohol-free version and one with alcohol in, I'm sure they would feel just as calm if they didn't know, in terms of the placebo. Yeah, it's like, the placebo. So true.
The second one that I always struggle with is staying awake. So again, we used to go out for dinners a lot, and alcohol would keep me awake.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh my God, massively. It was really weird, but I guess it would just keep me going.
Yeah,
the energy. I have the energy. Whereas now, I mean, I kind of don't like going out for dinner at all as much because I like to go to bed early. I really, really do like to go to bed early. So I kind of avoid going out for dinners and stuff, mostly because I don't want to stay up late. And after a certain point, if I haven't had a drink, I'm exhausted. And then I'm not fun, and I'm resenting the fact that I'm there. So have you ever felt that? Any coping mechanisms to try and stay less tired?
No, I think if that's part of who, your personality, and you just like I'm saying, I'm an early bird, I'm in bed by 9-10 o'clock, you've got 3 children, then I think just kind of changing things up a bit to just match how you your schedule, maybe like go out for dinner a little bit earlier, or just
go out for lunch.
Go out for lunch. I was exactly the same. So I haven't really experienced in terms of alcohol making me feel more alert. If anything, it would, after a few drinks, it would normally
knock you out.
Yeah, it would normally knock me out. So I was
the other way, falling asleep at the table.
Yeah.
The last thing, and this is still one that I actually still really struggle with, is when I'm in social situations where I don't know anyone. So if I go to an event and I have to mingle, or if I'm at a wedding and I don't know the majority of the people there and I have to make small talk, I might appear to be an extrovert, but I'm a real introvert, and I hate meeting new people. I hate socializing. I hate small talk. I'm always like, oh my God, I must appear so boring. And I'm way more fun when I've had a drink.
Yeah.
And that is fact. I know that about me. I'm way more confident. I have an alter ego who comes out. She's called Mahogany Mez. She loves it when she gets to come out and play. She hasn't been out for a long time, but it's a thing. It happens. And I'm still lacking a solution to that particular problem. And I know it's a confidence issue, and I know it's not something related to the alcohol. It's probably something I need therapy for. But is there any advice you give to people who that's their trigger when they're in a situation where they're surrounded by alcohol and they don't know anyone, and alcohol is a safety blanket?
Yeah.
How can we remove that?
So a lot of the women I speak to, this is what they struggle with the biggest.
Yeah, I bet.
Is social. And again, it goes back to the conditioning. So we believe that being social is linked to drinking. So what I would just suggest is, if you want to take a break, go to it. If you like you said, a networking event, I would just, definitely have a drink in your hands. Go through the whole ordering thing. Even if in the beginning you don't feel comfortable to tell people that you're not drinking, have something in your hands that could potentially be alcohol that might make you feel more secure. And I think we also just need to, kind of rethink about what social means. I was exactly the same as you. I always wanted to be the funny one. I was Sophie's hilarious. She's the funniest person. Let's, bring her around. But yeah, that version of me doesn't really, not that it doesn't exist. I like to think I'm still
Super fun.
Yeah, super fun. But just rethink what being social looks like. You don't have to enter the room as the life of the party. You can just enter the room, be curious, be warm, be friendly, and that's still enough. Yes, that alter ego may not be there anymore, but nobody, especially if you don't know, I think it's actually harder with friends that you really have, because they're your friends, you don't want to upset your friendship circle.
Yeah.
But I think if you go into an event and you don't know anyone, I actually think, they're just acquaintances. I actually think it's easier because, firstly, like I said, you can just act like you're drinking something when you're not, if you feel like you have to.
Yeah.
And then if you feel questioned about it, you can just say, I'm taking a break. Always frame it in a positive way. So if you have somebody, because I've had it before, you're not even going to have one.
It's so bad, isn't it?
You're not even going to just have one.
It's so bad how people say that.
I say, I've told people before, I haven't drank 2.5 weeks. What? Not even one? No.
Not even one, funnily enough.
Yeah. So just try to frame that in a positive way. I always feel like if you're really positive, it's hard to push back on that. So if I'm like, Marianne, no thanks. I'm actually, I'm going through this health tick at the moment where I'm not drinking and I feel fantastic. It's brilliant. That's really hard to come back at. Yeah. If somebody's turning around and saying to me or you, I feel fantastic, I feel brilliant, how am I then going to turn around and say, just have one? I've told you that I feel fantastic and I feel brilliant for not drinking. So I think that's always a good thing. Like if somebody's going at you, try to be positive. And then, the good thing is, which I've obviously never been able to do when I was drinking, I think if you're a driver, being able to go home in your own car at the end of the night when you want, it's superpower.
It's the best.
It's unbelievable. It's absolutely amazing. Like getting in your car, going home, just have an exit strategy. I feel like you need to.
Yeah.
When people start to get a little bit more rowdy, you just bow out, and to be honest, they won't even.
Absolutely,
literally won't even know that you're not there. As bad as it sounds.
No, I always say there's nothing good happens after 5 drinks. Nothing.
No.
And nobody remembers.
No.
And this is, I always drive everywhere now. If I don't want to drink, and again, it used to be bad, I would say, I'm not going to drink tonight, or I'm not going to have too many drinks tonight. And then me saying that would almost make me do the opposite. And then go so overboard.
Yeah.
Because I would be like, I just have one, and then I'd be like, oh, fuck it. It's fucked now. I might as well just have five. I mean, I used to be like this with chocolate.
Yeah.
But I'm not eating any chocolate today. I'm just having nothing. And then I'd have one mini egg and I'd be like, well, it's fucked now. So I'm going to eat the whole bag. It's just really bad logic. But now, if I drive, I definitely won't drink. And I'm always, if it's in my power to leave when I want to, even if my husband's like, oh, let's just stay, I'm just going to have one more. I'll be like, that's fine, hon. You stay. You have one more. You do you. I'm off. I'm out. See you later.
Yeah.
And it's so
It's
nice.
so nice. Yeah, being able to do that. 'Cause I've never experienced
Nice.
of course. It's always, in taxis waiting in long
I know.
especially when we were younger, imagine when we'd go out in the
Yeah.
freezing cold and wait for taxis, like just being able to go home
I know.
in your own car.
I know. And then I
Yeah.
feel great getting into bed. It's just
Yeah.
the best. What about the people who don't think they have a problem, or they might be like, "Ugh, possibly I have a little bit of a problem, but they really don't, they can't cope with the alcohol anymore," which I think a lot of our generation are like that.
Yeah.
Alcohol just doesn't agree with us. It makes us unwell. It makes the anxiety really bad. What would you suggest they do as a possible trial run into like sober, curious life?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of the women that I speak to, they are in that grey area part of it. So I think in terms of that, just start with exactly the question. You don't feel great, right? So that can be enough to stop. You don't have to reach a rock bottom in order to stop. It's all about what we were talking about, which is a conditioning. We believe that you're fine or you're an alcoholic and you need to quit. People don't really talk about this grey area drinking thing, although it is actually, it's coming about a little bit more, a grey area drinking thing. So I would just really, you don't have to go from calling yourself a drinker to a non-drinker.
Yes.
You can just have a try. Even if it's just, right, I'm going to start drinking an hour later this evening, I'm going to have less drinks. Or, you've especially, going back to, you have to have positive experiences. So if you've got an event coming up and you normally would drink, I would really encourage that person to try and go to that event without drinking. Because what you'll find is you'll have so much, because you've had no experience of otherwise, you don't know, you're just assuming that you're not going to have a good time. So if you can go to an event and not drink and have a good time, then that will encourage you to keep going, or even like once you see the benefits. Because in terms of alcohol and sleep, alcohol really, really disrupts your sleep, because what it does is it bypasses the REM or the REM.
REM sleep.
REM sleep. So even if you sleep for 7 hours and you've had a few drinks, you're still going to wake up feeling tired, feeling exhausted, because you've bypassed all of that restorative recovery that you really need. So even if you have a break for a few weeks, you will notice that you're feeling better. And especially as mums anyway, you're going to have broken sleep if you've got your mum waking you up in the middle of the night, right? So not having the alcohol also waking you up and disturbing the little sleep that you do get, I think you'll find that you feel, a lot better fairly quickly.
Quite quickly.
Yeah, within a few weeks.
I mean, that is the thing, for the sleep as well.
Yeah.
That is a really big one. I think as busy parents, protecting your sleep is one of the biggest things.
It's like gold dust, like especially I remember the newborn days.
I know.
Just,
Oh my God, don't. I don't think you could pay me to go back there.
Yeah.
We just talk about a couple of signs or things that might point that alcohol is not serving you? What if you're a regular drinker, but you definitely don't think you've got a problem? What signs and symptoms might be coming up that might be pointing to alcohol actually doing you way more harm than you think it's doing?
I think it's so individual to the person. As what I might be able to tolerate, you may not, in terms of what you're put up with. So, but in terms of basic signs, if you're using alcohol as a crutch, if you're using that glass of wine as a crutch, and you're getting through the day, that's all you're thinking about, right? I'm gonna put the kids to bed at 6:30, 7 o'clock, then I'm going to have that glass of wine. It's not really used as a treat. It's used as a coping mechanism. Then I think that's something to possibly think about. If you're not even necessarily looking forward to it, you just know that it's part of your routine, then, that's maybe something to think about. And then just look at how you're feeling, how's your sleep, how's your energy, are you feeling, do you feel like you've got less patience with your children that you might have if you weren't drinking? Because I think that's one thing as well, is I noticed that once I stopped drinking, I had so much more patience, I had so much more energy. I really enjoyed moments. I wasn't just skipping through them to try and get to a drink,
So true. And what about like special occasions now, or when you go out and you want to have something fun? Have you replaced alcohol with something else, or do you have a mocktail, or are you a water drinker? Do you struggle through the kind of like wedding situation, or are you kind of like, I'm okay
here's my glass of
Yeah.
some water, guys.
Now I'm absolutely fine. It's not a problem for me. But I think in the beginning, yes, I would have the alcohol-free beers because I think it's something to hold. Yeah, it's very similar. Yeah, I really like the alcohol-free Coronas. The only problem with an alcohol-free beer is if you're worried about what people are thinking, it's obviously it says on the bottle 0.0, so that people will flag that and potentially start quizzing you. And if you don't feel comfortable for that, then I wouldn't necessarily opt for an alcohol-free beer. Maybe you could have, you know, if they do have the alcohol-free spirits, something that you can just put into a glass that can pass as an alcoholic drink in the beginning, then it'll help. Just going through the motions of ordering the drink, having something in your hand, and then people won't even realise. People really they won't.
No,
They won't realise.
no. And now what do you have? What's your like special occasion drink? If you were to have something, what do you have?
I do like the alcohol-free Coronas. I'm more. I was like a beer drinker anyway. I really love like the alcohol-free beer. I was partial to an Aperol.
Oh yeah, yeah. I do love an apple.
I haven't tried the alternatives, but I did speak to Erica actually at Drink Dry Sort about her Aperol spritz like alternative. So I am going to possibly be trying that. I think that would be very nice.
Yeah.
But now it would just be an alcohol-free beer or a Diet Coke. I'm very basic.
Chill.
Yeah.
And how long did it take for you to really feel a difference and also feel like you didn't want to have a drink anymore?
I think they say the magic number in terms of, you know, feeling better overall, not just physically, but emotionally, it's 100 days.
Okay.
100 days is the sweet spot. Once you've built enough evidence up, and because hopefully during that 100 days, the whole point of that is to not just stay at home and hibernate, it's to get out in the world as no, I don't want to say non-drinking because it's a label, but get out into the world without alcohol and experience how good life can be without it. So I think once you've got to 100 days, you've experienced, you know, you're not feeling as anxious, you've got more patience if you're a parent, your sleep's way better. And then I think you'll have had so many experiences in that 100 days that you've then built up some evidence to know how good it can be without alcohol. So that then I think once you reach that 100 days, you're much less likely to go back to drinking.
And was that you?
Yeah, that was me as well. Yeah, that was me. So I was 100 days. I was pretty much because I remember at the time I had a you know, one of those like sober days.
Yeah.
I don't really like to use the word sober because people associate that with
Having a problem.
Yeah. So I say alcohol free, but it was like a sober thing. So I would always count down the days and I wanted to reach to 100 days because of that podcast that I would listen to on the way to work. They always talked about 100 days being the sweet spot. So I did feel a lot better once I'd reached 100. And then once I'd reached 100 days, I didn't check it. I can't remember the last time I've checked the thing. I think I recently did a carousel post, maybe it's a couple of weeks ago, and it was over 800 days.
Wow.
Yeah. So
and was there a point where you stopped noticing that you wanted one when you were out and about?
yeah, because I think in the very beginning, what happened is I would go out for a meal with my husband or friends, and I would immediately go to the cocktail section. Right, what can I not drink now? So it was all about what I couldn't drink. So I felt really deprived in the beginning. I just look at everything. Oh, if I was drinking, I'd have that, I'd have that, I'd have that. And then once time progressed, I'd never look at the menu now. I never look at the drinks menu.
No.
It doesn't even enter my head to look at the drinks menu. But at the very beginning, I was just immediately, as soon as I sat down, right, oh, that looks nice, strawberry jeffreys and that. And oh, I can't have anything now. And then I'd look at the alternatives and yeah, so I think once you're on, you know, you're going out and you're not even looking at the drinks menu, you're not even thinking about it. That's a good step.
What's your take? So, like, do you think that people can, if someone has had a problem, do you think it's possible to rewire your brain to only have one?
So I think it's very individual. In terms of if you've had a problem, then I think that would, as you said, if you've had a problem, I think that is very difficult to only have one. If you are somebody that, and I know people like this, that, you know, just enjoy one drink, then yes, go for it. Continue to have one drink if that's something that you want to do. But what I've found is that, I mean, me as well, when I try and moderate, prior to stopping drinking, I try and moderate, right, I'm only going to have one drink on this night out. So instead of enjoying my time with my friends all I cared about was how deprived I was. And I was so miserable on that night out because I knew that I wasn't drinking. It was horrendous. I was just thinking about what I can't have.
Yeah.
So if you're somebody that ruminates and really is trying to not drink, it's going to end up being, for a lot of people, it'll end up just being an unpleasant experience because it's your night out. It'll all be focused on feeling like you're missing out, feeling like, you're deprived. And I think once you have that one drink, it's hard to not continue to chase it. Like you said, chase the high, especially on a night out. So that's why sometimes just cutting it out altogether, it just cuts out that middleman, and you just don't think it's not something that's entering your head anymore. You're not thinking, right, the rumination's gone.
Yeah.
And you really do feel free.
Yeah. Oh, good feeling.
Yeah.
And for someone who's listening to this at the moment and thinking, okay, I feel like maybe I want to give this a go, are there steps they can take to kind of start small and see what happens, essentially?
Yeah, so I think definitely just don't go straight from thinking, oh, I'm a drinker, I'm now a non-drinker. Just take small steps. Try and find a community of people that, that don't drink. I think the more people that you get talking to, like I found people that don't drink. So, and I wouldn't have known. So I think it's more just, oh no. No, I think we've already talked. Oh,
No, we haven't.
we haven't.
No,
I don't want to feel like I'm repeating myself.
you're not. Don't
No.
worry. No. I think just the small steps, like, yeah, talk about finding the community bit is good.
Yeah.
Also start small, like don't think you're never going to have a drink again.
Yeah.
Give yourself a little
Okay.
milestones.
Yeah. Okay. So I think in terms of giving people advice, it would just be, try and find a community of people that don't drink, or even just to find a hobby that you really enjoy. It doesn't include alcohol. If you're into sports, there's Pilates or there's a running club or anything. You don't necessarily, like me, for example, even though I don't drink, this is a side note, a lot of people assume when you don't drink that you're super healthy and that means like that will, like, no, not necessarily. You can just be a non-drinker and not want to go on a marathon. That can happen. But in terms of giving people advice, I would just say start small. Think about what you losing my train of thought.
Start small.
Right. Shall I just start again?
No, just say go from start small.
So start small. Just say, for example, you're trying to do a 30-day break. Mark out anything that you may find might be difficult for you if you've got anything coming up, and really think about how you're going to plan that day. So going back to the social thing, so have an exit strategy, possibly drive, think about having a drink in your hands, thinking about the alcohol-free alternatives. You don't have to label yourself as a non-drinker. You can just have an experiment. Or even if you don't feel necessarily, ready to stop drinking it, you can just start like with the podcast, but, without even changing your relationship with alcohol. Podcasts, communities. And then I think once you get more evidence, then you can start thinking about, making those changes if you want to.
Start with like 100 days.
Yeah, 100 days. Yeah, 100 days.
See how you feel.
100 days is a sweet spot, honestly. I really recommend try to get to 100 days and you'll feel way better.
I actually did 50 or 60 days at the beginning of the year, and then the war happened. And that kind of went to shit.
Yeah.
I used alcohol as a way to kind of get me through, which is bad. Like, it's such a crux. But yeah, I mean, when it all started, I was like, well, I need something to have, like, just to take the edge off. We need to stop that. Anyway, I'm going to do a quick fire round with you if you're ready.
Okay.
Yeah, it's very easy. Do not worry. One product you swear by.
I love Catherine Jones's product.
Ooh!
She's brilliant. So I've got a subscription to her vitamin C serum. Yeah. I love that. The fresh vitamin C serum. I get that every month. Brilliant.
Coffee or matcha?
I've never tried matcha. No, I don't really know what that is. Like, I know people drink it. It's green.
Yeah.
Is it like a tea?
It's like a green. It's derived from green tea, I think.
Definitely not that. Coffee. 100%.
What's one habit that makes you feel more organized or grounded?
I really like to lean into the law of attraction and The Secret and being positive. So I would always, every morning when I wake up, I like to list down 10 things that I'm really grateful for. Because I just think, like, in terms of that, it's so true. The more the more positive you are and grateful you are, it really does bring more positive things about it. I'm trying. It's hard to practice, but I'm trying to.
No, I think that's really nice and very, very true. Current favorite AI tool or app?
I'm not really, just basics. ChatGPT. I did try to transfer over to Claude.
Yeah.
It didn't really work for me though. It was for some reason when I tried to use it, it was saying it was giving me stuff like it thought it was 2025. I was like, how
Go away, Claude.
Yeah. Why is everybody recommending this?
One business or motherhood hack you couldn't live without?
Motherhood hack. Yeah. Don't drink alcohol.
Yeah. That's a very, very good one. I'm not gonna lie. Go to wellness ritual that's under 10 minutes.
Honestly, like I'm really terrible for this. I don't really have one. I wish I did. The vitamin C serum, I put that on every day. I've got some of the good old, what is it, the salmon DNA?
Yeah.
I did have that done recently, actually, and then but I have some of that, and then just moisturizer on, and even look at me, like at the staple.
But we don't need to,
not crazy.
No, we don't need to, break something that's not breaking, do we? No. Single most powerful thing that has helped you either in your family life or business life?
Not drink alcohol.
Yeah. To be fair, I can kind of agree with that.
Yeah, not drink alcohol.
Since I've cut back, I'm a totally different person. I function in a very different way.
Yeah.
I also think that it hid my ADHD from me for years and years and years, because being drunk and then being hungover, it was the only day that my brain would be totally shut down.
Yeah.
And it would rest, and therefore I would rest. So then when it started running again on Monday, I'd be okay. It was a weird story for another time. Anyway, so if anyone who wants to reach out and find you and ask you any questions, where can they find you?
So I have an Instagram platform, af.sophierose, and I also have a website, www.sophierose.co. So you can reach me there.
And I will link
with me.
Everything in the pod. And I will link everything in the show notes, everybody. So please feel free to check them out and then go and say hi to Sophie. Sophie, you've been fantastic. Thank you for coming on Mother Tongue today.